Hey, what's up, you all? Do I sound okay? Do I look okay? Oh, hopefully that didn't come out. I think we're good. Hi, we'll give people just a second to pop in. How is everybody? Go Vivek. Vivek rhymes with cake. Vivek rhymes with cake. Vivek, Vivek, Vivek. How are you guys? Hello. Okay, so the Iowa caucus is tonight. Thank you very much. The Iowa caucus is tonight. So maybe we'll start getting some results in while we are live. That would be cool. But we'll look into some of the drama that's happening and who the projected winners are and all that jazz. We'll let people have just another minute to pop in. Sorry I haven't been live in such a long time. Hopefully we can make it regular again. I'm trying to do a weekday 2 p.m. and one day per week that I do 8 p.m. or an evening one for people that can't make the 2 p.m. Eastern. So it was a long holiday season, but the year is already off to a jumping start, you could say. All right, let's just go right in. I think we're good right now. Oh, awaiting a live with my new style. Oh yes, I did dye my hair. I was just getting tired of the blonde. It was time for a change. I think maybe I'll go back blonde one day, but this is pretty fun for right now. So yes, I am. It's actually dark brown, but it looks or not dark brown. I'm sorry. It's actually dark blonde, but it looks brown in some lighting. Depending on the lighting, it looks darker or lighter. Okay, let's start. All right, Iowa caucus is tonight. Um, the projected winner in Iowa is obviously Donald Trump. They he's projected to win in a landslide, but we know how those polls go. And interestingly enough, the person who is projected to come in second place is Nikki Haley. She actually has a lot of support in Iowa and a lot of donor support too. And then you have hello Boston. Thank you very much for that compliment. Looks great. Thank you, my cousin Hammerstein. Um, so yeah, Nikki Haley is projected to be second. Surprisingly, it has a lot of donors and support in Iowa. And then Vivek and Ron DeSantis are kind of a top or a toss up. Although I think Vivek might be an underdog in this situation. He might be a little bit of an upset. He might be doing better than what we think he is. And there's some interesting stuff going on there. Ron DeSantis, his campaign is just not looking good. Um, he did a few things that I don't think were a good look for him. He kicked a few people out of his town halls. There was one political commentator. He's a smaller YouTuber, but he's a decent YouTuber. He makes YouTube videos, pretty chill guy, and was kicked out of Ron DeSantis's town hall. He actually bought, I don't know if you buy tickets, but he had a ticket for this town hall, and it was even confirmed. And while he was there, he was asked to leave. And it was actually Trump's team that saw him at another event, recognized him, and allowed him full press pass, full access to Trump and his team during the whole caucus. So I thought that was really cool. And this is just another area where Ron DeSantis and his team, they're just flopping. They just keep doing things that are really bad looks. Now, yeah, well, that's what it is. Leroy said now the machine is backing Nikki Haley. And that's one of the reasons she's projected to do so well in Iowa because she has so much donor support there. So you're definitely right about that. Okay. Speaking of Vivek, so we'll start looking and seeing when results are going to come in. I think polls close at what? Like, when do they close? I don't know. I'll look in just a second. I want to read you this write up about Vivek because Vivek, something really interesting happened. So any of his supporters know what people say about him. They call him sort of a plant. They think that he is an establishment plant And that's been the thing with him all along. And this video that surfaced of him during the caucus didn't really help that rumor. So I'm going to show it to you. Let's watch the video. Let's watch Trump's reaction and his reaction. And then there's a really good write up about Vivek that I think is pretty spot on. And by the way, I still like Vivek. I'm not trying to be like, ooh, we got him. He's an industry plant. I like him. I just this isn't helping the he's an establishment plant. MTG vibes. Good evening, Sarah. Wait, she's still blonde though. Do we just have a similar vibe? That's cool. Maybe did she go brown too? Where the heck is this video? Okay, here it is. Okay, so this is Vivek. This is only a portion of the conversation, but the entire this isn't cherry picked or anything. Um, the entire conversation kind of went like this, but this is Vivek talking to a Trump supporter who's on the fence about who to vote for, but is really worried about Trump. And this was their conversation.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I still like Vivek. I'm not trying to make him look bad, but I mean, this is out there. So
that I will caucus. I get emotional. I'm emotional about this country. I need your support on Monday night. You do this, I'm going to do my part.
Okay, you're picking at my shell. You are.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've got
It's about this country. It's about this country. You want to save Trump, you vote for me. I'm telling you that. You vote for Trump. You're sending
He's
him
a sledgehammer.
No, but you're sending him to his own demise.
okay, essentially he was saying, if you vote for me, can't hear it. It was really quiet. Essentially, what it was a really quiet video, so I'll just tell you what it said. This was Vivek talking to a. It sounds like she's a Trump supporter, but she's really on the fence about who to vote for in the Iowa caucus, and he's convincing her to vote for him. And she's saying, "I'm worried about Trump. I'm worried that." She said something along the lines that I'm worried if I vote for him, I'm voting for his own demise, or Vivek said that. But that's essentially what Vivek was convincing her up. He said, if you need someone, you'll hear him say this again. He said, you need someone with fresh legs. You need a young guy. If you're voting for me, you're voting to save Trump. If you vote for Trump, you're voting for his own demise. He's beat up. He's, had all these things thrown at him. That to me sounds like that's essentially what he was saying. But you can see how it comes off as a little manipulative to some people, especially some people that might think that he is a plant. So I wanted to show you that again. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just showing you what's out there. But this was Trump's response. I'm giving Vivek a chance to defend his position here, although he doesn't address it head on like I wish he would. Okay. So this was Trump's response. He said, a vote, remember, Vivek said, a vote for me is a vote to save Trump or something like that. But you see what's happening here. Yeah, it was. It was a little odd. And I don't know if he knew the camera was there or not. He had to have. But Trump says a vote for Vivek is a wasted vote. I like Vivek, but he played it too cute with us. Caucus tonight. Oh, US. let's try that again. Hi, my name's Sarah. I talk on the internet. A vote for Vivek is a wasted vote. I like Vivek, but he played it too cute with US caucus tonight. Vote for Donald J. Trump. Build up the numbers. In November, we must take a very troubled nation, a nation in decline, back from crooked Joe Biden and the radical left, Democrats and thugs who are destroying it, MAGA. See, yeah, people think he's controlled. We got a person saying he's controlled opposition here. I mean, this isn't helping that. Okay, so Vivek says, I've defended Trump at every step and respect him immensely. You won't hear me attacking him. I'm asking for your vote tonight because I believe it's the right thing to do for our country. We cannot walk into the other side's trap and watch the puppet masters quietly trot into Nikki power. Oh, quietly trot Nikki into power. See, I don't know what to make of all of it. And here is Okay, so this is Vivek with Laura Ingraham, and she pushes back a little bit, but you hear he uses that same line again. You need someone with fresh legs. And let's also keep in mind, I mean, this is a campaign. They all are campaigning. So they do have to, or their job is to convince people to vote for them. So we do have to remember that.
What does that mean?
To
fresh
reach and
legs?
let
Now this is really loud compared to the other one.
Who President Trump is. They know what he did. They have a pretty good sense of DeSantis. You're the young upstart. Why should they turn out for you?
Look, I think that it is going to take somebody with fresh legs coming in from the outside.
What does that mean?
Oh, I just want to make sure I said this was after that interaction. So I want to make sure I made that clear. I think I did, but I'll start it again.
They know what he did. They have a pretty good sense of DeSantis. You're the young upstart. Why should they turn out for you?
Look, I think that it is going to take somebody with fresh legs coming in from the outside.
What does that mean?
To reach and let mean somebody who is
I've heard that. I know fresh legs. I mean,
yes.
Are you physically running this race or what?
Well, you know what? We've actually run across Iowa.
I have to tease you. Come on.
I've done over. That's allowed, Laura. And you said you've been around the caucus. I think you probably know this.
Yeah.
I've done over 390 events across the state. That's more than any other candidate in history and more than the rest of this field combined. And Iowans do reward hard work. But my message is this. If you want somebody who's actually going to shut down the deep state, not just talk about it, but actually get that job done in a way that it hasn't gotten done, nobody's going to do that like me, because it takes somebody who is a businessman. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman, but who also understands the law and the Constitution of this country. And so they're not going to dupe me when I fire 75% of those federal bureaucrats. They're not going to dupe me when I go in and shut down.
How many is that? 75%. I mean,
several million.
This is music to the ears of many of us who've sadly worked in Washington for a long time.
And that's what we need.
But that's millions of people you'll throw out on the unemployment rolls from the federal government.
That's correct. And the reason is the job of the federal government is not to provide employment opportunity, Laura. But now is a good time to do it because there are more open jobs in the private sector right now than there are people looking for work. So we can stimulate the economy while we're at it. And you know what? If you cut 75% of those bureaucrats, there go the regulations along with it as well. You know as well as I do that most of those regulations are unconstitutional. But we need a president who actually understands the Constitution
so you think
to be able to swear
Trump
to it.
Doesn't understand the Constitution?
I think my understanding of the Constitution is deeper than anybody else in this race. And I also think that I'm a businessman who comes from the outside.
Well, he's a businessman.
But those two things, you need both of them. And that's what I think happened last time around. I said you couldn't fire those employees. You know this, Laura. They said because you had civil service protections. Read the law.
Yeah,
those civil service protections.
Well, he's chief executive. He can fire anyone he wants.
Well, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's happening on my watch. And so I respect Trump. I want to be clear about that. I think he was excellent for this country. He rolled that log over and we saw what crawled out. I'm bringing the pesticide.
You know what I think happened? I think what happened here, and this is campaigning, I think what happened here is he towed the line a little bit on Trump. And then when it's getting closer to the caucus, now the stakes are a bit higher. So he sort of pivoted just a little tiny bit in his position to try and get those votes. I think that's exactly what happened. All right, but now that we saw that, I actually wanted to read you a really interesting write-up. So this is by Cernovich. I don't know if you guys know who Cernovich is. He's not on TV a whole lot anymore, but he was a lawyer. He's one of the people that blew the lid actually off of the Epstein case, like way back when he was looking at something totally different. But he helped to do all of that. And he wrote, where did I put it? Okay, this is good. This will be interesting. I'm for the first time with you. Haley is weak on weaponization, but strong on China. She's also weak on immigration. Okay, here we go. He says, Vivek, real or fake? Have you ever driven in the snow before? I asked Vivek Ramaswamy's deputy comms director as we half fishtailed in the rental as we exited the road. He had not. Okay, let up off the gas and brakes, point the steering wheel in the direction you want to go. Don't overcorrect. It was going to be a long day as the roads had whiteout conditions and we passed multiple abandoned cars and multiple mid-sized trucks. They get cocky. But if your tire slips on ice, it doesn't matter if you're in the cool guy truck. Is Vivek for real? Voters know the feeling well. Politicians sell you a product, you vote for them, and they betray you. This happened recently in Italy. In spades, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni ran on an Italy first platform. Within a week, she imported a record number of anti-Italian fighting aged males. You can't call Giorgia Meloni anything but a fraud and a traitor. Is Vivek more of the same? You can't know. I supported Trump in 2015, 2016, and then watched as he hired 0 people from the greatagain.gov before he swiftly fired General Michael Flynn on orders from VP Mike Pence. We all remember 2020. Even if people want to pretend that Trump didn't scream at DeSantis and Kemp for opening up too soon. Can you really trust anyone? I don't like to pretend I possess the superpower of saying, I looked that man in the eyes and shook his hand, you can trust him. That makes for good copy. It would get a lot of reposts, also hateful quote reposts. That ain't me. What I can say about Vivek, the truth, there's a light in the eyes that some people have, a divine spark burns more brightly. Vivek might be the most impressive human I've met in politics or in media. He's legitimately high Q. Candace Owens agrees. This is a quote from Candace Owens. Vivek has people I can't talk today. We're going to back that one up. Vivek has people suspicious because he's smart and doesn't hide it. People consider this spooky. Before I read the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, I was this way too. I've since learned to downplay my own intelligence due to tall poppy syndrome affecting modern American. Losers will cut you down for standing out, as proven by the wicked lies about me being paid to ride along with Vivek. Some influencers and reply guys are so broke that they can't imagine anyone covering a campaign out of his or her own pocket. Folks, there are a lot of help wanted signs out there. Get off X and get a real job. Legitimately high IQ, so we'll go into that. Take your time. Sound it out. I will say I do think that that is true. We're not used to seeing people show off their intelligence. Okay, let's take Donald Trump for example. Donald Trump has a way of talking that everybody, whether you're super low income, whether you're really high, he just has a way of talking that he connects with everyone and makes everyone feel good. And Vivek just lets his IQ out on his sleeve. And I think that's a good thing, but we're not always very used to seeing that. Just like how you see politicians like AOC, she loves to talk about how that's the golden story with every politician. They love to talk about how I came from nothing, I came from no one. Joe Biden likes to do that. They all like to have this American dream type of story. If Trump and intelligence into the same sentence, well, I mean, he's not stupid. Do I think Trump is stupid? Absolutely. How would he be that successful if he was stupid? I mean, come on. Unless you make a living as a part of the corruption, being close to Congress. Okay, we'll go back. Legitimately high IQ. Unless you make a living as a part of the corruption, being close to Congress or the White House will demoralize you. You rarely meet someone who reads, thinks, or has a personality. There is no there. This is also often true of influencers. They talk endlessly about content creation and brand. Ask them about the last book they read. You'll find some shallow waters. Vivek is able to listen to voters and caucus goers, comprehend what they say, and then he agrees. He immediately assimilates that into his campaign speeches. Vivek never spoke about truckers before. Then he met a bunch, learned about how poorly truckers are being treated, and then made that a campaign issue. This is also where the he's fake thinking arises. A cynic could say that Vivek didn't say anything about truckers until now. You could equally say that's because he didn't know. Both are right. Interesting. You could say that he picked up on new talking points on the road. Or it could be that as a strong moral viewpoint and understands, after dialogue, that Pete Buttigieg has put the screws to men and women who risk their lives driving on the roads to keep this country moving. Vivek turnout and the Iowa caucus. Vivek had turnouts in small Iowa towns similar to what DeSantis was pulling in Des Moines, where crowd shots also include the dozens of media people in town. There is no way to predict what will happen in tonight's caucus. Goofy, here we go. This will get interesting. Goofy talking points about Vivek. A lot of stupid and vile people are saying he's a vegetarian Hindu who took money from George Soros. Okay, you can go bye-bye. You're in timeout. All right, I just put that dude in timeout. I just moderated my own live stream. Vivek has debunked the Soros and other lies repeatedly. It's not my job to keep repeating them. From my point of view, it's hard for me to feel bad for the country when voters choose to listen to liars and frauds about basic issues. Take it, for example, the Soros money angle. Vivek was awarded a law school scholarship. I went to law school and got scholarships. I'd have taken one from anyone, including Soros. No one even knew who he was back then. During law school, I attended an event that was funded by the Koch Foundation. Are the morons going to say Cernovich is funded by the Koch brothers? I meant Koch brothers. A lot of stupidity gets posted because that's what you want. Until you learn discernment, you are going to keep getting more of the same. Vivek is different. Whether he believes in what he's saying or not is only a question God can answer. I really like that assessment. I do think he's different. I've said this over and over before. Is he someone I'm voting for? At this moment, my support is behind Donald Trump, but I'm always open until the very end. We'll see what happens with caucuses, with prime, like with everything. We'll see what happens. We'll also see if anything has changed in that time. But if you were to ask me right now, my support has always been Donald Trump. I just haven't seen anything that's making me change that at this point. But I love Vivek. I love that he's in the game. I think he's extremely talented. And I think I've read his books before where he actually talks about his corporate past. I think I've showed you guys. I have 2 of his books, and I never questioned the Soros thing really because he's talked about that before many times, just like what Cernovich said there. But I also wanted to bring that up because people say that about a lot of things. There's a lot of talking points on the right that are very similar to the left. You'll see people just shout slogans like he's a plant, he's controlled oppositions or stuff like that. Like, why do you think that? Why exactly do you think that? Now, that being said, that video earlier doesn't help. But, you know, wasn't he into pharma? He might have been. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was. That was his business, essentially. That's how he made a lot of his money. That was a long time ago, though. Sarah, who do you think Trump's for VP is? He said he knows already. Okay, so here's a few of my guesses. I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders might be one. Kristi Noem. I think Tulsi Gabbard. And I don't mean to go with just women first, but that's who I'm looking at. That's who I think, if it's a woman, it might be one of them. Ben Carson was brought up. I think that's an excellent choice. I love Ben Carson. I've even seen people talk about Vivek, which was actually pretty crazy because I thought that might be pretty likely until he made that comment about Trump. But I don't know. Maybe they'll be friends after everything. Oh, Tucker Carlson. I don't know though. You guys, honestly, I don't know about that one. He just launched his new network, so I think maybe he might be busy with that. But who knows? I would love Tucker to be in office. And the thing about Tucker and Trump, that would be such a good team because they both understand. Oh, Carrie Lake is another one. So let's see, we have possibly Carrie Lake. And I just like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And I read her book. She talked about Trump a lot. It was really cute. Tulsi hates Trump. I've seen her tweets. Oh, interesting. So maybe not. She is actually one that they thought was an industry plant too. I'm leaning more towards a Ben Carson. If I were to guess. I'm just thinking if there is any more updates, and then I'll go to Trump. I have a few videos of Trump. Okay, first batch of Iowa caucus votes. This is coming from Benny Johnson. He's a commentator that I respect. All right, so I'm actually a little shocked. Okay, first batch of Iowa caucus votes. It is 827. Trump, 75%. DeSantis, 14.8%. Haley, 5.3%. Vivek, 4.2%. Tulsi is a liberal. Okay, isn't there like, don't people think that Tulsi Gabbard is a plant too? I've heard that too. Like she's a establishment plant. I've heard that about Tulsi too. I just haven't looked that much into her. I don't know. Trump, 75%. I did hear they were projecting that he was going to have a landslide, but I take those polls. I like to look at them. They're fun to talk about and speculate on them. But honestly, I take them with a grain of salt. So, but 75%, that's really good. Okay, speaking of Trump, let's look at Trump now. And a gun grab. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't like that. So Trump, yeah, for what we have so far, it's only 827. Who knows? The water pipes could break. And the count could be off for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he loses the lead. Democrats aren't involved. That probably won't happen. Did you know that you can joke about fraud now on YouTube? You couldn't for the longest time. Oh, John Edmonds said, yes, Tulsi was a WEF, a young global leader. They call themselves WEFs. Oh, hold on. Okay. Let me see if there's any more results. I like it. See, Vivek is so confident. He even had me believing he was going to do better than what he did. But who knows? It's only 827. We don't know. Oh, Anomaly. Oh, he was right. I don't know if you guys know who Anomaly is. He has a pretty cool YouTube channel. He's actually really into, he's very critical of Trump because he's very big on looking into the pharma type stuff. So he said, I predicted Iowa results early on my show before the votes started coming in. Number 1, Trump by a lot. Number 2, DeSantis by way less. Number 3, Haley close to DeSantis. Number 4, Vivek under 10 to 15% because the internet doesn't translate. Let's see if it pans out. He might be right. Oh, my cousin. Okay, that's a good point. My thing, here, I'll put that up. My thing with Tulsi is she publicly endorsed Biden in 2020 after the laptop and Ukraine scandals were brought to light. She says a lot of good sounding stuff, though. Interesting. Alrighty then. Okay, let's watch Trump.
People that are very, very sick.
So he is actually, so this is him in Iowa. He's talking about the border. So I was going to go into that for just a little bit. What chance does DeSantis have in a general election versus Trump? I just don't You know, if you would have asked me that a year ago, here, let's put this question up. John says, what are the chances? Okay, what chance does DeSantis have in the general election versus Trump? If you were to ask me that a year ago, I would say he has a pretty good chance. Now, I don't think so. I don't think he has a shot at all. It makes me sad to say that because I love him so much as a governor. He did such a great job. I mean, obviously not everything was perfect, but you can't expect any leader to be perfect all the time, or you're not going to agree with everything they do all the time. But I thought he just kills it as a governor. He does such a great job, but I don't think he has any chance. I think his campaign was such a flop. I think it would have been better for him if he would have waited till 2028. I don't think he has any chance. I actually think even though he did better than some of the other people, I actually think in a general election, they would have a better shot at beating Trump maybe than him. I don't know though. It's too bad his personality didn't catch on, kind of like, yeah, it's just his personality. And then I wish I had these videos for you guys, but I can try to find them. But he was getting people removed from his town halls, people that didn't even do anything. He was getting them removed from his town halls. And that was not a good look either. I don't know where it is, but that was not a good look and was just another sign that he needs to have a sense of freaking humor is what he needs.
From the snake, that's our border. We're taking in people from prisons. We're taking in people from mental institutions. We're taking in murderers and drug lords. We're taking in people that are very, very sick with diseases that will be spread all over our nation. We're doing the wrong thing for our country. It's going to be very hard to recover from that, but we're going to start on day one with deportation. Okay? Does that make sense, by the way? Does that make right? Is there anyone in the room that doesn't get it? Because if you don't, please leave. We don't. You're hopeless if you don't get it. That's what's happening to our country. That's what's at the snake. Just remember it. As soon as I take the oath of office, I'll terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history. And, you know, it's not a nice thing to say. It's a tough thing to say. But remember, Dwight Eisenhower, if you actually know, he's a pretty good president. And when he was president, he was very much into exactly that. They had a big border problem, and he'd take people, and they'd just drop them on the other side of the border, but they'd drop back. And then he realized that you had to take them away, and they'd fly them 3,000 miles down into deep South America. And generally, they would never come back. But he was very tough on deportations, and we're going to have to, because what's happening to our country is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. We can't have 15, 16, 18 million people. I mean, they're taking over our schools. They're taking over our hospitals. You go to a hospital and you can't, and you know, you want to take care of people. They're people, whether they're American people, but it's not sustainable. It's no good. It's not sustainable. Our people are suffering greatly. In Manhattan, you have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people poured into New York, and they're living on Madison Avenue. They're staying on Fifth Avenue. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And in all due respect to the mayor of New York, he's fighting it as much as he's going to fight it. He's fighting a criminal element, a sick element. He's fighting an element of people that have.
Okay, we have some news. Who just said it? 60777 just said CBS News projects that Donald Trump wins the Iowa GOP caucus. Also, CNN also called the caucus for Trump not only that, the New York Times has called the Iowa Republican caucus for Trump. So we have the New York Times, CNN, CBS. This is the Iowa caucus entrance poll. Do you think Biden legitimately won in 2020? 28% said yeah. Okay, so this is the entrance poll. Do you think Biden legitimately won in 2020? 28% said yes. 68% said no. And you want to know something else? While I was reading that, I was listening to what Trump said. I think it's really smart what he said. So, what I wonder is if some of these Democratic mayors in some of these areas who are struggling because of this influx of migrants, I wonder if they secretly want Trump to win. Maybe they can't tell anybody, but I think it was very smart how he called out Governor Eric Adams. As you know, they've been struggling big time with the migrant crisis. And I like that he called him out, basically saying, I stand behind this guy. Because what is that going to put in Eric Adams' head? Now, two things could be going on. I do have this like sneaking suspicion that these Democratic mayors and governors are being told behind the scenes that if they just hold out until after the election, they'll get federal funds. I have a feeling that might have happened. So you do have that. But I like that Trump is calling it out and naming the mayors of these areas. So, New York City, this is pretty wild. They are having to actually, it's not that crazy that they're doing this. I'm surprised that they're doing it's crazy what's happening and why they have to do it. So New York City, apparently they just had no curfew on their shelters for all the migrants, the illegal immigrants that are coming in, which is weird because most shelters, I've worked at shelters, they have curfews. You have to be in at a certain time throughout the night unless you're at school or working. No one needs to be outside past like 11. So they're going to be implementing a new curfew at 4 different migrant locations starting tomorrow. So they have to be in the building unless they're going to or from directly from work or school, which there's no school from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. But you have to be in the shelter from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless you have school or work. And they're going to be starting this tomorrow. And the reason they're starting this is because you have local residents now that are complaining about loitering after hours. They're complaining about crime, and people are having their homes. Migrants are coming to people's homes and knocking on the door asking for money, especially around Floyd Bennett Field Park. Now, the thing about this is, if you're staying in Floyd Bennett Field Park, you have shelter, you have childcare, you have health care, you have food. Why are you asking residents for money? But that's what's happening. And here's one local council lady talking about what her constituents are facing.
Week about concerns within her. Councilwoman Joanna Ariola met with the Adams administration last week about concerns within her district.
Yeah, my constituents are terrified. They have people that they don't know at their doorbell. They usually have a child with them. They have their telephone, their iPhone, and on it says in English, I'm a migrant from Floyd Bennett Field. Please give me
money, is what they said. You already have my tax dollars. You already have all of our tax dollars and our services. And now you're coming to my door and asking me for scraps. Is it never good enough for you? Is nothing ever enough? What do you want? Why are they asking for money? They're staying in a shelter that has everything they need. And by the way, I have footage of this. So this was sent in to Viral News NYC. He lives in New York City, and he basically just follows around all the happenings with the migrants. So this was somebody's This is from Queens, and this is somebody's Ring camera footage from their home. So you're going to see a migrant lady and her child approach the door, knock on it, or ring the doorbell. They put their phone up to the door, and that's probably the part where it's saying, "I'm from so and so, can I have some money?" And obviously the person declined or didn't answer. You can't really tell from the video. Well, the same person, I cut the video off a little bit earlier, but the same person said that after the woman and her child came to her door and walked away, she watched them walking down the street trying to check all the cars on the street to see if the doors were locked or not. So that's what residents in these areas are facing. That's why they had to start implementing these curfews. But as you can see, this is happening during the day. So it's also happening during the day. So here you see the child ringing the doorbell or knocking. I can't tell. Ringing. There's the mom. Or the woman, who knows if that's the mom. And I think she's talking into her phone right there for a translation. Wow. So that's happening. And Donald Trump is right about countries not sending all of their best. The same account, actually, let's see if I'll bring him up. I'll read it to you right now. That same account that shared that video. What I love about his account is he goes and talks to all the migrants as well. Megyn Kelly says Trump wins Iowa easily. What a comeback versus where he was after 2020. What does anyone remember what Trump's Iowa caucus results were in 2020? I would be really curious to know. Oh, wow. Okay, this is actually good news. This was the account that I was going to. So this is Viral News NYC. And he says the New York City Mayor Eric Adams reverses the budget cuts for libraries and states that kids should not have to suffer due to the migrant crisis. That's a good choice, my man. He's not my man. Sometimes I kind of I want to like Eric Adams. I think I do like Eric, not like that. No, I think I do like Eric Adams, but he just says some goofy stuff sometimes. But I do think his heart is in the right place. I just think he wants to be the cool politician, and he wants to be down with the liberals and the far left, but I think he realized, wow, the far left is excuse my language. I think he realized once he got into office, excuse it, the far left is batshit crazy. And I think he's in that state right now where he's realizing the far left is batshit crazy. And I kind of don't think he knows what to do with himself right now. But that was a good choice. See if I can find this quote. Okay. This is what he said. So he said, yesterday I was speaking with a Venezuelan woman that has been here for over 5 years. I asked her why she left Venezuela. So she didn't come here under Biden. I asked her why she left Venezuela. She told me the president there is a really bad person and some of the people there are dangerous. I asked her what she thought about all the migrants coming from Venezuela. She said it was nice of America to let the migrants who need help, but the U.S. also let in some of the people they ran from. She also said Venezuela is pretty much a ghost town at the moment, and we let in way too many migrants. So you actually have migrants that are coming over the border now saying that we let in way too many migrants. I'm going to pray later tonight and ask for forgiveness. Just kidding. I actually am trying to cuss less. I've never been a big cusser, but there is a point, I think about 5 years ago, that I said a few cuss words and I was like, this feels really good. I'm going to embrace this rebellious side of me. And then it just got out of hand. And I don't think it's attractive when people cuss like a whole lot. Sometimes a word comes out here and there. But when people cuss, like, especially a lot of girls, like a lot of women my age and like the younger generation of women, like I'll watch some of their TikTok videos or, their like social media posts. And it's just every other word is the F word. And I can't stand hearing that. I do say freaking a lot. It is more effective when you do it less. It has more punch. I should stop saying freaking a lot. That was probably a substitute word I put in there. Yeah, I heard this from a few other smaller countries too. Tucker Carlson was interviewing the president of it was the president of El Salvador, the guy right now. The Tucker Carlson a few years ago was interviewing the president of El Salvador, and he was talking about the effects that mass migration has on his country. And if you remember, El Salvador was not doing too hot a little while back. So a lot of people were fleeing for the same exact reason they're fleeing Venezuela. Well, obviously, people are fleeing Venezuela for different reasons. If you're a criminal, you're not coming here to escape the criminals. You're coming here to do the crime. Here, fresh meat, fresh country. He was saying that he said, I understand why a lot of people wanted to leave. We had a lot of crime, there were no jobs. But when all of our healthy people are leaving, now when our country is starting to do better, when there is less crime and now we have more jobs, there's no one to work the jobs because your working class is leaving. And if you look at the majority of the people that come over the border, it's not elderly. It's not people with severe disabilities that can't work. It's working age people. And they'll tell you, we are here to work. But if what this lady is saying is true, Venezuela is a ghost town now. So even if they do start to do better, there's no one there to work. And that's what the president said. He said, I get it, but now all these people are leaving and we can't build up our economy. Oh, for sure. Sir TDS said, even Obama says open borders are not sustainable. If you look back at every major Democrat right now that has come out against Trump for the wall and his stance on border security, they all had, including Obama, they all had the same exact stance as him several years ago. It only became a bad thing when Trump was for it. That's the only time it became a bad thing. Okay, let's look up. Somebody did say a lot of the excitement with Trump right now reminds me of 2016. Okay, so what were the Iowa caucus results in 2016? Oh, I wanted 2020. Why did I go to 2016? Okay, well, even in 2016, Trump, that's crazy. Ted Cruz. Yes, I had no idea. Ted Cruz won the Iowa caucus in 2016. I meant to do 2020. Okay. I read the 2016. That was in my head. Okay. Not 2024. You almost made me cuss. No. Okay, well, it's actually giving updated results right now. So Trump is at 54%. Nikki Haley's at 19%. Ron DeSantis is at 17%. Vivek is at 8%. Okay. No, no, okay. There we go. Jeez. Well, Trump won. It looks like Trump won that too. I think. Results. Ask the sanctuary cities that voted for it and now are not given the option to change it back. Yeah, that really bothered me that Chicago is the city that did that recently. So they had a city council meeting, and the city council was voting on whether they were going to allow in the next local election their residents to vote on whether they wanted to remain a sanctuary city or not. And they voted no, they weren't going to allow them to do that. I'm like, wow, your city is suffering. Chicago is suffering so bad. They have migrants hanging out on warming buses. They're hanging out on warming buses. So just like a regular city bus, they're hanging out on those buses to stay warm out of the cold because they have nowhere to put them. And they want to remain a sanctuary city. It's ridiculous. The governor of Illinois came out and said that those Republicans, they're only sending migrants to Democrat-run cities. It's because you declared yourself a sanctuary. That's why you're getting them. You declared yourself a sanctuary. You said, come one, come all. You said, we will give you free resources. If you get in trouble, we won't tell ICE. We will protect you. That's what you do when you declare yourself a sanctuary city. You make yourself a magnet. It's ridiculous. And you know, what's really sad and sort of like a kind of a somber truth that I realized on the 2020 election, I had a lot of hope going into 2020, but I realized a hard truth either on or right after election night that in order for a lot of people, there are some people that never will, and we just have to accept that. But in order for a lot of people to snap out of their Trump derangement syndrome or their evil Republican white supremacy syndrome, whatever the heck that is, their CRT syndrome, their woke syndrome, in order for people to start to break out of that, they are going to have to see the reality of the policies that they support. And I just, that TDS was so bad. The wokeism, the indoctrination was so bad that that's what they were going to have to see. It was going to have to get really bad. People were going to have to get for exactly what they wanted in order for some people to wake up. And I really do believe that. And I honestly believe that's why you're seeing a lot more enthusiasm with Trump, or you're seeing so much with Trump even after all of this. Oh yeah, Bill Clinton, he did. Bill Clinton complained. No, he wasn't. It only became was Bill Clinton racist because he complained about illegal immigration back in the 1990s? No, because you need to know the rules. The rules are it only became racist when Donald Trump had that point. That's when it became racist. That's also when Donald Trump became racist. Because if you remember, how many rap videos was he in? How many shows? Like the media, Hollywood loved him. The media loved Donald Trump until he decided to run as a Republican. Speaking of Donald Trump, that was him yesterday in Iowa giving out pizza.
A lot of pizza. Can I have some too? Absolutely.
That's nice. Okay, let's see if there are any more updates. I think it's pretty much in the bag for Trump. Oh, this is funny. Okay, should we watch some Joy Reid? She had some opinions on Iowa. I'm gonna have to put it right up here for you, but this should be interesting. So this is Joy. This is Joy Reid on the Iowa caucus. Right?
But I feel like the important sort of data point, and Steve talks about it a lot. He's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight. Is that these are white Christians? That this is a state that is
Sounds horrible.
Overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper evangelical white state. And he said the following to me: Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following, because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing.
A secure border.
Losses. And he said the following:
law and order.
They see themselves as the
Safety.
rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American, is a less real American. Then you don't care about electability. You care about what God has given.
I shouldn't be shocked. I think the thing that shocks me the most that they say that, it's that they're still saying that. Are people still buying this? And that's what I mean by there is going to be a subset of people that will always be stuck in this sort of indoctrinated state. Oh no, white Christians, how horrible. Someone that follows the Bible? That's awful. Did I swear again? I didn't swear. Where'd I go? Oh, I'm back. I don't normally listen to her. Now I know why. I almost didn't, because sometimes I can't watch those videos either. It shouldn't. You really should laugh at it because it's ridiculous. But some people believe this stuff. All right, Fox News called it. Trump wins Iowa. Ooh. All right, guys. Well, I think that's everything I have for you. I was sitting on the floor right now. My leg's asleep, so I'm gonna turn my leg back on. Very cool. So Trump won. I think that was as to be expected, but you never know. There's a lot of surprises in these things sometimes. Actually, Vivek had me convinced that he was going to do a little bit better than what he actually did. So she's not in here. My cat. So it snowed today where I am. My cat she's got a new little resting spot. She is out in the living room sleeping on the couch. That's her little spot. She sleeps right by the window and watches the snow. That's what she did all day. And that's her little sleeping spot. So I don't have her with me right now. Oh yeah, Sir TDS. Oh, I know. You have there's actually protests tonight. I was sort of glancing at it while I was looking at updates, but I know it's crazy to me. That's why it's so funny to me. You literally have people. I was in New York City. I was staying in New York City on October 7th, okay? Before Israel even responded, before they had any idea how many people were kidnapped or had died, before the bodies were even cold, there were people, pro supporters in Times Square cheering. And if you look at the details into these attacks, I mean, I still have nightmares. It really messed with me just because, what they were using as weapons of this sort of attack a lot were women and children. Usually women and children are, but that's usually, and I think in Western culture, we grow up thinking that women and children are hands off when it comes to elderly, disabled, innocent civilians, women, children. Hands are off. You don't touch that. It's a war of crime. It's a war of crime. So I think we're used to that. And to not only see that the women, children, elderly, obviously everyone is attacked. I'm not saying men shouldn't, but I'm just saying seeing children, elderly, women brutalized in such ways. I read the details as to what happened to, the sex crimes that happened to some of these women, and it's horrifying. So it was really scary. And the fact that, that can happen to people just at a music festival or at home early in the morning, getting up to make breakfast. This happened in the morning. And to see that people were celebrating just in the same city, in New York City, Times Square, where 9/11 happened, and people were in Times Square en masse celebrating. And that, yeah, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up. And then you have Joy Reid over here talking about how scary it must be to live close to white Christians. Oh my gosh. They might secretly judge me a little bit. That's like the worst thing. A Christian is going to know, well, a good Christian. Yeah, and you might not agree with everything that Israel is doing, but they were defending themselves. And how you can just that's what I don't like about the left. This video of Angelina Jolie went really viral, and she to me is someone who's very leftist, but she does have a lot of experience with the UN. She used to volunteer a lot, and she made a video, and this is sort of how I have been feeling, and I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling for actually the past few years, realizing who the left really is. And she said, when I was doing all this volunteer work, I really thought, everything was black and white. These are the good guys, these are the bad guys. And she goes, what I realized when I'm working for these organizations that are supposed to do all this amazing work, I realized that wasn't really the case. She goes, I realized that we'll fight for this injustice, but not that injustice. We'll want justice for this person, but not that person. We don't like poverty over here, but we don't really care about it over there. We're against this crime, but this one we're going to ignore. And that's what the left does. It's ideological. It's not built on principle, it's built on an ideology. That's why they always conflict with each other. Yeah, Alan, that's what I realized. It's funny because when I was talking, that's exactly what I realized is that you have to know who you're up against. And unfortunately, that's, when you have these Islamic extremists, they view women as fifth class citizens. They view kids the same way. They probably view elderly the same way. Well, different, but you get what I'm saying. That's why they use their children as shields. They use families, women. They use anyone as shields. They don't care. That's how they view people. And I think that's why it's so shocking too, because you used to think, yeah, we had 9/11, but that was kind of that was a huge terrorist attack. But it was after that happened, sorry, I was trying to figure out the correct words to say. It almost came out totally wrong. But after 9/11 happened, we were all on the same page. We were all horrified by what happened. We all came together. So you expect to see something that horrific and it would be similar. And still, I think you can be pro Palestine, not in the way that you don't want Israel to exist, but you can care about your people. You can want your people to be okay. You can be pro that, but you don't have to ignore this atrocity. But that's what they were doing. They were celebrating the attack on the innocent people. So this large swath of people in New York City and Times Square were celebrating the brutal attack on people. And the reality is, and what I know and what other people know, but unfortunately a lot of useful idiots don't know this, is it's not just them against the Jews or them against Israel. That's, what do they call it? That's the little devil, then you go to the big devil, or that's the big devil, then you get the little devil. They also don't like Western civilization. They also don't like Judeo-Christian values, and they also don't like Christians. So if I was over there, they wouldn't have known I would have been slaughtered too. Yes, they were. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's them, but Israel is first. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. I'm thinking while I'm talking. Israel is first. America is next. So that's really what it is. So all of those girls, they could be anyone. They could be me. They could be any of your family. They could be your daughter, your mother. They could be anyone. They could be any one of us if something like that were to happen here. That's what some of these, like, some of these paid protesters or these white liberal women or the queers for Palestine, that's what they don't really understand. It's not just, yeah, that's the first thing. And yeah, obviously there's a conflict there and there's stuff going on there, but that's not all they want. They want the entire world. They want Western civilization eradicated. They want Jews gone. They want Christians gone. That's what they want. Oh, I totally agree. Send the US supporters of Islam over there and see how well they do. Infidels. Yeah, that's exactly it. Anyone who is not of their religion is an infidel, and we are all infidels. Thank you for saying that. It wasn't coming out the exact way I wanted it to. Yes, we are all infidels. If you are not a Muslim, you're an infidel. And they want all infidels gone. It actually says it in the Quran. The students today are naive and don't study history because it isn't taught. Yeah, I do blame a lot of educators for this. A lot of educators are just, they're ideological, and they're doing a disservice to their students by not sticking to reading, writing, arithmetic. Oh my God. Chink of the Young Turks justified using hospitals as bases in his debate with Destiny. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that was what was so, I mean, obviously, like, we've all seen violence before, and it's never okay, and it's never not shocking to see. It's never not traumatizing, but especially with the things that I talk about, I see a lot of these dark stories or violent stories a lot, and it's not that it doesn't affect me, but I'm able to separate it. But sometimes you see things and it's harder to separate it. That was hard for me to separate, to see people out there celebrating in the USA, out in the open, in broad daylight, in Times Square. They didn't care who seed them. They didn't care who saw them. They wanted you to see them. And they were celebrating, and they felt comfortable doing it. And they were celebrating the slaughtering of innocent people and babies and grandparents and fathers and mothers and, 19-year-olds who are just being innocent and living their lives. Yeah, I definitely think Trump will. I really do. I definitely think Trump will be the Republican nominee unless something crazy happens. Where what I worry about is the general election and just making sure that things that happened the last time don't happen this time. I don't trust no one. All right, you all. Well, I'm going to head off. Thank you so much for joining. It looked like Trump won the Iowa caucus, which is cool. And I will be back on here. Oh, did you see Douglas Murray destroy Cenk in a debate last month? I think I might have seen that. But he is just Douglas Murray on this topic is just bar none. He's the best. He is so fun to watch on this topic. He's so educated. He's so good with his words. I'm going to look that up tonight and watch it. All right, you all. I'm going to look that up. I think I might have seen it. He got obliterated. I don't doubt it because I've seen actually Douglas Murray in a few debates over this very topic, and he's very good. I love Douglas Murray. He's just I like him a lot. I won't say that about very many people, but I have a lot of respect for Douglas Murray. He's a cool guy. All right, I'll see you. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern if anyone is around and would like to join. All right. Oh, nice to see you, John, Sir TDS. Okay, I'll watch that. All right, bye everyone. Have a really good night. Be safe. If you're in a wintry area, stay warm. Bye. Bye. Yes, please hit the like button. Tell YouTube you like me. Even if you don't, just hit it and just pretend. Bye.